A deep change in the way that we live requires a deep change in the way that we think. I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently. As summer fades and routines kick back in, this is your reminder to pause and get intentional about the goals you set for this year. Whether you kicked off the year with big dreams, or maybe it was a powerful word, now's the perfect time to reflect and recalibrate. Today, I'm bringing back a favorite episode with Josephine Owusu, a business strategy coach and founder of the Owusu Collective. We're going to dive deep into the concept of CEO time, which is that critical time for stepping back, evaluating your progress, and ensuring that every move you make is aligning with the life and business you're out to build. Without further ado, sit back and enjoy. Hey, Differently listeners, I'm so excited to have Josephine here with me today. She and I met over a year ago at the in the Biz Chicks Mastermind, and we've connected, numerous times since then, and we are going to dive into strategic planning, and I can't wait. So welcome, Josephine.
Thank you so much, Carla. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so give everybody a little sense of where you are in the world and who you are.
So, hello everyone. I live in the UK. So, I live in the countryside. I was born and raised in London. But 11 months ago, me and my husband, we decided to move about an hour outside of London into the countryside, and which has been absolutely amazing. And I'm a business strategist who works with purpose-driven coaches, content creators, and creative entrepreneurs with a team.
I could just listen to your voice all day and your accent. Everyone's going to love listening to you. Okay. So we're talking about this idea of building your dream life and business through strategic planning, which I just love all things planning. So I'm really excited. But that also can feel a little bit lofty, right? This idea of building our dream life and business. So I want to know, what does that mean to you?
Okay, so the key thing, and this is what I do with all of my clients, is it's always about starting with the end in mind. What is the end goal? So even though it may seem overwhelming, it's really important to just know, okay, what do I want to achieve at the end? What is the kind of business that I want to build? What is the kind of life that I want to build? And how can I build a business that aligns with that life? And then you kind of reverse engineer it. You kind of you start with the end in mind, and then you work backwards. It's like, okay, what do I need to do to be able to achieve that goal? So for example, if you know that, okay, in 5 years' time, I'm trying to think of an example. In 5 years' time, I want to expand to I want to have a business that expands to New York, for example. What does that look like from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5? So you can kind of break it into smaller goals, and then so that every year you have a different focus, but each one of those goals is feeding in to that bigger purpose that you have.
Yeah. As you work with people, what are some of the things that really describe a dream life in business? Because that's different for everybody, right?
Yes, it is. What has come up a lot though, which is quite similar, is having financial freedom, having freedom of time. For some of my clients, it has been being able to work anywhere in the world and still have the life that they have. So not be limited to a geographical area. For some clients who are parents, it's being able to have this amazing business that they have, maybe work part-time in it, but also bring in a lot of revenue, and then also for it to be able to fund the lifestyle and provide for their families, and also for them to have time to look after their kids and spend time with their kids and their spouses. So it's, yeah, as you said, it's different for everyone, but what comes up a lot is that freedom of time and being able to do what they want whenever they want.
You're speaking my language. And I think this whole idea of beginning with the end in mind and really deciding what does that mean for you, right? It doesn't have to look like everybody else. And I know for me and the clients I've worked with, sometimes we get caught up in that, right? Like chasing something that the world or our culture or other people are chasing. And then we wake up and realize like, whoa, I built something that doesn't really feel like my own or aligned with who I am. So I love that you start with the end in mind. And I love that you said the word alignment, because that's just like near and dear to my heart and all the work that I do, because if it's not aligned, then it doesn't feel right, right?
Exactly. And I agree with that, because there are lots of people who, when you look out in the world, they look successful, but behind the scenes, they are burnt out, they are tired, they are stressed, their relationships are falling apart. And so they may have built a successful business in the world standard, but they don't feel successful because their life is just falling apart. And one of the things that I love doing with my clients at the beginning of if they're doing an intensive, a strategic planning intensive, one of the things that we do is we do a visualization exercise, and it amazes me time and time again the things that come up. For a lot of the clients, things bubble up where they're like, "Oh, I forgot about that dream." It's like I forgot about that dream, and then they're literally like, "Oh my gosh, yes, this is what I want to do." I had a client where she really realized a dream that had just kind of been pushed aside. And because of that exercise, she ended up pivoting her business, and it's just changed the way her business is, and the way she's just killing it. It's amazing. And it's because she's building a business that aligns with her family life, that aligns with what she wants and her goals and everything. And she's not just chasing after, okay, this is what my competitor is doing. She's chasing after her own desires. So yeah.
How do we two questions. One is kind of, why do we get swept away in that, right? Like chasing something that doesn't really align, and how do we recognize that?
So the first thing is losing our focus. So we're looking too much at what other people are doing. You know, we all know that it's very easy to look at, for example, Instagram, and people are posting their highlight reels and just thinking, oh my gosh, I think that's what I want, and that looks amazing. But instead of actually looking within and thinking, what do I actually want? What does success look like to me? Sometimes we look at what success looks like to other people instead of actually taking the time to review. I think that I don't think a lot of people spend enough time reviewing their lives and kind of just really taking the time to dream and think about, what is it that I love doing, and where do I want my life to go? So I think it's definitely to do with losing focus and kind of getting shiny object syndrome. You know, whenever there's anything new, okay, maybe I should do that. So just you end up kind of being pulled apart in different places. I think that's one of the key things, losing focus and just focusing on other people's dreams instead of actually taking the time to sit down and, you know, think about, okay, what do I actually want? Like for me, because of my faith, I literally will spend time with God and I'll pray and ask, okay, you know, Lord, what do you have for me, kind of thing, and I'll dream, and it's about kind of connecting with that. So that's one of the reasons. And your second question, sorry, I forgot.
I forgot too.
Oh, actually, you said,
how do we get back?
How do we get back? Okay. So the way to get back is, as I said, is taking that time to literally, even if it's, I know not everyone loves to journal, but I think journaling is such an amazing practice. And so take that time out and ask yourself those questions. Like, find a lovely, comfy, quiet corner in your house. And even if it's just half an hour, and sit there and just think about, or go for a walk. And then you can write it down after and just think about, where do I want to be in a few years? What kind of business do I want to build? What things light me up in my business? When was the last time I really enjoyed what I was doing in my business, and what was it? And then what kind of life do I want to have? What does that look like? What does it look like on a daily basis, a monthly basis, an annual basis? What does it look like in how I spend my time, the clients that I work with? How much time do I spend with my family? How many holidays do I have? It's really sitting down and thinking about the big picture, like really dreaming, and not putting any limits on it. Like, if I could live my dream life, what would that look like? What are the simple things that it would include? Like, for me, I love to walk. And especially since we moved out to the countryside, I've got a walking buddy, and we go on early morning walks around the beautiful countryside. And that just, it just lights me up. And that's a simple thing. I also love to go on spa days and spa weekends. And so it's really thinking about, what is it, the things that I really enjoy from life.
I think that is so poignant what you're saying, because I think when we don't take time to actually get quiet and ask those important questions, we can get lost in this fairy tale idea of what our life should be like. But when we actually get real about it, the things we deeply want are far more simple than often our mind or the world wants to tell us. They're really simple things. And I think so many things could be solved in our own lives if we just spent a little more time getting quiet. Our world is so noisy, and I love what you're saying here. Okay, so back to this idea of the end in mind. I know in my own life the importance of that. Like, I've always had kind of a mission in front of me, whether it was like, who do I want to be as a mom, or what kind of marriage are we creating, or what kind of business am I building? And sometimes those visions have been like 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year visions that I just can almost like repeat in my mind, that I carry in front of me, even when there's no evidence showing that it's happening or, real yet. And those have led all the different parts of my life. And I think this is so, so incredibly powerful. So once we have this, what is the next piece of this once we have our vision and mission idea?
So the next thing I would say is you can do almost like a loose plan. And remember that when it comes to goal setting, it's you can always adjust things. It doesn't mean that just because you set a goal, that's it. We're rigid, we're not moving. I'm just thinking of the meme with Ross from Friends when it's like, pivot. Sometimes we have to pivot.
Yes, I love that. And sometimes goals don't work for people for that reason. They feel too confining. And so, yes, loose plans and loose goals.
And that's how it is with strategy as well. Even if you create a strategy, we should have that openness to be able to pivot and adjust depending on what happens, because life is not straightforward. And even though we have a plan, we all know that things always come in and it's like, okay, that was not in the plan. And so we have to always be open to pivot. But what I would suggest is, as I mentioned earlier, creating a loose plan in terms of, okay, if this is, for example, what I want to achieve in 5 years, so then what does that look like in year 4, year 3, year 2, year 1? So where would I like to be? What's the goalpost for each of those years for me to be able to achieve that plan. And then you would come back to year one, which is the current year that you are in. So the next 12 months. And you would look at that big goal and break it down. So I always like to break down things. So for example, give me a goal. I'm gonna let you give me a goal. So say there's a goal that you have for this year, and I can give you an example.
Well, I think one of the goals for this year for our life was to be more mobile and create more adventure in our lives and more living.
Love that. Okay. So I love that. I love that. I love that. So what you would do is in terms of, so you don't want to be limited to a place. You want to be able to travel. Do you know how many weeks or you want to travel in the year?
Haven't actually defined that. But I think we just want to have, kind of adventure and trips kind of plotted throughout the rest of the year, which we kind of have done a little bit of. Yeah.
Okay, so I love that. That's a great example. So what I would do for the next 12 months, if I know that, okay, I want to be more mobile, moving around, having trips here and there, is I will look at the 12 months and then we'll decide, okay, maybe we want to do a trip every month. Maybe we want to do a trip every month. You might decide that you want to do 2 big trips a year. So you might have two, whether it's two, for example, you might have 2 trips where it's 1 month each, right? And you decide that, okay, we're going to go away in August. That's going to be our first month trip. And then our second month trip is going to be in December because it's around Christmas time. So we can actually spend time with family, but then we can also still have some time for ourselves as well, right? So you would plot that in your calendar that we're going to be doing that. And then you might decide that all the other months you are going to go away once a weekend. And then maybe every 3 months you might go away for a week. So you will kind of plot that out. It's all about planning, looking at each month and being like, okay, so most of these months, so 2 months, for example, for Q1, the first 2 months, I'm going away for the weekend. We're going away for the weekend, and then we decide where we're going. Month 3, we're going away for a week, month, or maybe for 3 days or something. And then month 4, we're going away for a week. And then month 6, we're going away for a month. So you can kind of plot things out. Now you need to look at your business and figure out, okay, what does that look like? So because you don't want to be okay, question. If you were going away for a month in August and December, would part of it be a working holiday, or would it be you want to completely switch off?
Yes. So these are mostly working, like being mobile and working. So on the road, doing a little blend of both. So yes, it definitely includes working. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what you would do is you would look at kind of your packages and the way that you work with your clients, and you would schedule it in a way where in the months of August and the months of December, your workload is much less. So you're still working behind the scenes, or you might not even be doing client work in those particular months, but you're working behind the scenes on your business. So they're like the quieter months. Usually August, people are on holiday, so it's a great time to work on your business. December, to be honest, a lot of people switch off from the beginning of December. So you can also kind of slowly be working behind the scenes on your business again. And so maybe you would set up your business in a way where, in terms of the way that you work with clients, if you are on a retainer, you would make sure that by August, for example, you are winding down. And if you've even got a few client calls, it's literally only a few where it's not draining. And the same thing with December as well.
I love what you're saying. So it's like, regardless of what our goal is, it's kind of like plotting these big rocks, right? Because what I know, when I plot the big rocks, just like kind of casting your vision or mission, it's like your life starts to line up around those things, right? The problem is when
Yeah.
we don't have big rocks clear in our life or plotted in our
Yeah.
life, then life just fills up everything and we're left feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, consumed by everything else but our big rocks, and that leaves us feeling
Yeah.
powerless and frustrated, right? So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know you help people with overwhelm, and that's a big topic I know with the people I work for too. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So, in terms of overwhelm, I think a lot of us sometimes we just see that there's just too much to do.
Too
So,
many
one of the things that I
things.
always, too many things. So, this is why a theme that you will keep on hearing is about writing things down, about planning. If you don't plan, I have a saying, if it's not in the calendar, it's not happening.
Mm.
So you could have a dream that, oh, yes, I want to be mobile this year and we're traveling. But if you don't actually look at the calendar and schedule it in, it is not happening. If we didn't schedule this podcast interview, it would not have happened. And I always say that someday is not in the calendar. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to, it's really important. The key is in the planning. The key is writing things down. I think when people are overwhelmed, they the first thing that you need to start with is literally do a brain dump. And I would encourage you to do that even so, for example, when you're planning your month, you have a brain dump of what you want to achieve for that month. The same as if you were planning for your week. You can either, some people plan on the Friday just before they finish their day and close up for the weekend. Some people plan on a Sunday when they chilled and it's part of their self-care and, they're kind of winding down on a Sunday. But I think the key is actually making a note of what are the things that are all in my head. If it's in your head, you're gonna stay overwhelmed. So I would start with write everything down. Just do a brain dump. Brain dump. It's of everything that's in your head, which is like, I need to do this, and then look at, okay, which ones of these things is actually time sensitive, for example. So which ones are actually like, I need to get this done by a certain time, a certain day. There's a hard deadline on it. And then look at the things where it's important, but you could actually schedule it in. You can plot it in. I'll give you an example. If you were planning to travel in August and you know that you had certain things that needed to be done for clients and wrapped up, you would make sure that you would schedule it in. So if you knew that, for example, you were, I don't know, launching a program, or you had a deliverable that you needed to give, or a strategy that you needed to provide, you would make sure you'd almost kind of look as your vacation time or that downtime as a project. It's like Operation Project.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do to be able to, for that month to be a success? For me to be able to not be stressed out and working 100%, but actually be able to take some time off and really enjoy that time and not be stressed. What needs to be put in place? So it's kind of treating it as an actual project and mapping things out. So I always encourage time blocking. So if you've got an ongoing project where it's something that it takes a bit longer, you can schedule time in on a particular day every week so that you're getting a bit done every time. So you could have a project to do with, for example, you want to rebrand your website. You need to write the copy. You need to provide, all these different things. You can map that out. You can decide that a Wednesday is your website day, and you map out 4 hours every week to make sure you do that. And the key thing is, when you are time blocking, Don't just put do website. Attach,
So
put
true.
in the just right, because that's what we do sometimes. But in the description, put specific tasks, specific actions that you need to achieve for that particular date. So you can kind of plan from week to week and then do that. Another thing that I would recommend is theming your days as well. So, for example, if you have a podcast, a great thing a lot of podcasters do, and I'm sure you do as well, is they have a specific day that they record their podcasts, because you're not getting distracted. Overwhelm comes when you're literally, you feel like you're being pulled in different directions for different tasks. So it's like you're focusing on that one task, you're focusing on recording. It's the same kind of task. That's what's going to allow you to be more productive.
Oh, I love that. I love these ideas. So I want to highlight a few things you've said. One is the power of a brain dump. When you're feeling overwhelmed, I know for myself, like it's all just stirring in your head, and you've got things for this week, next month, the whole year, like stirring, swirling in your head, and just sitting down to like empty it, right? To actually see like, what is today? What is this week? What is next month? And you can kind of spread it out. Then you feel a little more sense of control and power over actually what's here and now. So powerful, you guys listening, just emptying your mind on a regular basis of that for overwhelm. I think that's incredible. And the second thing I want to highlight is this idea of what I just hear you kind of talking about focus. And I love that you're always focused on what is it that you want, and then how can you line things up to that? Because I think a pitfall for us as humans is to get focused on what we don't want, and that creates overwhelm too. Yeah.
Yep. And even when you look at when you do your brain dump and you look at your list of things, ask yourself the question, do I actually need to do this thing? So you can go through that exercise. Is this going to move my business forward? Does this align with the goal that I have for this month?
So true. I'm so guilty of that. Sometimes things just end up on my to-do list that aren't even relevant with the goals I have right now. Yeah.
Right? Can I park it? So it's really, once you've dropped that down, it's like you have to be ruthless. It's like if you're doing a clear out of your wardrobe, of your clothes, and it's like, I have not worn this in a year. I have to be ruthless, chuck you out. You really need to sit down and think, okay, does this actually line up with my goal for this month, which should line up with my goal for this quarter, which should line up for my goal for this year, which feeds into my ultimate big dream goal. And so if you're always asking yourself that question, you're being intentional about everything that you are doing, and you're not just being pulled in so many different directions.
Okay. So how often should we do this? And this is really important because you're talking about kind of making hard decisions. Like I was talking to a client last week, and she's does a lot of project management inside of her business, and she was leading this group through an exercise, and they were getting so frustrated because they're planning all the projects for the year, but they can't figure out how to fit them all in. And she's like, okay, hold on. Basically, you guys have 36 eggs. You have one carton that has 12 spots. You've got to figure out how you're trying to fit 36 eggs in 12 spots, and it doesn't work. And so she was saying, these are the hard decisions you've got to make to, to push some of those out. And so how often should we be asking ourselves this question? And is there anything you would recommend around like making those hard decisions?
So I would say whenever you do your brain dump, so you might not do your brain dump every day, you might do it weekly, but whenever you are doing that and whenever you're planning, for example, if you're planning your day, if you're planning your week, for example, I would say specifically in those areas. When you're planning your month, that's more loose and you can always adjust to it. But when you're planning your day and your week, I think you should actually ask yourself those questions. What do I need to be doing this? And another thing that you need to be thinking about is this moving my business forward? Am I working in my business and doing all these little tasks that need to be done, but shouldn't necessarily be done by me and are not necessarily my genius zone? Or am I doing tasks that are working on my business? Another thing to think about is it going to bring revenue in my business? Is it going to bring more clients? Is it something I enjoy and I'm passionate about? Does it align with what my vision and my mission is for my business? Does it line up with my values? Because sometimes we have projects, for example, as you said, they had like 36 projects and 12 spots. Some of those projects, they're doing, and they've probably not thought about it, but it's very time consuming, but the reward in terms of financial is not much. Should you be doing that?
So true. So true. So how do we stay focused on the things that we're good at? I know that's something that is important to you and that you help people do. How do we recognize that? And how do we recognize when we're out of alignment there?
Okay. So the first thing that I would say is, what are the things that people always come to you for? There's something, at least one thing. And there's some people out there who are like, oh, I don't know, I don't know what I'm great at. But there is something that people continuously come to you for, whether it's advice, there's something, whether it's, something creative. What is it that people continuously come and ask you for? Because that is an indicator of something that is your gift, that is your genius zone. Another thing is, if you are struggling to figure that out, I would recommend, and I have done this exercise and it is an eye opener. I would recommend that you send a message to maybe 5 to 10 of your closest people and closest friends, family, and ask them, what do you think my strengths are? What do you think my weaknesses are? What do you think I'm great at, kind of thing? And you will be surprised at the things that they will come back with and the similarities that you'll hear. The same thing will come up. That is an indicator of what you are great at. Also, what are you good at naturally, but to other people it's difficult?
Love that question. Yeah.
What are you good at naturally? Yeah.
Such good questions. Okay. What else do you want people to know? And then I want you to share about how you work with people and what you're most excited about inside of your business today. But is there anything else in the realm of building a life and business that really aligns and brings us joy that you want people to know that we didn't touch on?
Yes, the key thing, so when you're building your dream life and business through strategic planning, the key thing is, as I've mentioned before, is being flexible, but also being ready to implement. It's not just, some of us can get stuck in the planning, and it's really important. Yep, I put my hands
I'm
up
guilty of that.
because we're strategic.
It's so fun.
We can really get stuck in the planning, and so thank God for my husband, because he is such an action taker. So he pushes me out of my comfort zone. And so the key thing is, strategy without implementation is, to be honest, you're still going to just have a dream. And so
true.
The key is when you create the strategy to actually implement. And so that's why we create the plan. And it's all about sticking to that plan. And in the same way that if you made a plan with someone else or you had an agreement, you would stick to it because you want to be seen as reliable. Stick to those plans that you make for yourself. It's
Yes.
that's a key thing. And
So
yes.
I have a question about that because I
Okay.
too struggle with that part. And like just at the beginning of this year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to implement these power hours again, which to me are kind of these focused blocks of time on my calendar where I'm going to focus on, 2 hours on one activity, whether it's, increasing awareness around my podcast or it's writing content and I plot them on my calendar and then I just end up moving them around. I'm not doing them. And so is that in like a problem of me just being in integrity with what I say I'm going to do? Or is it like this isn't working for me and I should reinvent something different?
So what you need to do is when you put when you're scheduling those power hours, you need to make sure first of all that you're scheduling it in a time where it's like it's a non-negotiable. Because I've done that before as well. It's like, okay, I could just move that. And before you realize you've moved it for a whole quarter
Everything.
and you're literally like, I have not done anything. But you wouldn't do that with a client. With a client, we
Never.
will go above and beyond. And so you really have to, it has to be a non-negotiable. So it's a mindset. It's a mindset shift. When you book that time in, it needs to be a non-negotiable.
Mm.
I was listening to Ed Milet and he was talking about how a lot of the time, the reason why a lot of people suffer with imposter syndrome is because they break promises to themselves.
Mm.
We all do it. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym this, every morning. And then when it comes, oh, I'm tired. We make our excuses. He says, so the reason why a lot of people have imposter syndrome is because they don't even trust themselves because they break promises to themselves. And so we need to shift our mindset where when I block in that time, even though it's not with a client, I am also just as important as my client. It's just as important that I do these things for my business so that my business thrives. How many of us, we've all done it where we have been full to capacity with client work and we have not factored in any time for our own businesses or personal development or things that we need to do behind the scenes. That will stifle your business. And so it's really important. It's almost like having a mindset shift that when I put this in, this is a non-negotiable. Whether I like it or not, I am not breaking my promise to myself unless obviously something has come up. And so it's not easy, but it's a mindset shift that we have to do, that I'm not going to break this promise to myself, and just take it day by day.
I think that's so interesting. I think what you helped me see is that I have these non-negotiables in my life, like all over my life when it comes to well-being or my marriage or my family or my kid, like having quiet time. But what you helped me realize is I think that what I've plotted on my calendar isn't a non-negotiable, and I need to reassess what I'm putting on there to actually make it align with that. That's really powerful. I love that. Okay.
Yes.
What are you up to, Josephine? What are you excited about? And how can people, work with you? And what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm excited about a lot of things this year. So 2023 is my year of visibility. That's one of my words. I've got 3 words, but visibility is one of them. And so I'm currently working, excuse me, I'm currently working on behind the scenes, and I'm going to be launching a YouTube channel, where we'll be going behind the scenes of me as an entrepreneur. And I am very, very excited about that. I've been wanting to launch this for a long time, and now it's like, this is the time.
Yay.
So we'll be talking all things entrepreneurship, lifestyle, strategy, networking. I'm very, very excited. And also self-care as well. So yeah, that's something that I'm working on. I am also, what else am I doing? It's just
Congratulations.
about
That
being
sounds
visible.
exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I literally was just like, okay, we are doing this. So I'm really, really excited about that. And in terms of working with me, you can check out my website, www.theowusucollective.com. And also, I'd love to hear from some of the listeners. And so I will share with Carla a link where you can book in a call, just to, if you have any challenges, a 15-minute call, and we can kind of just hop on a call and discuss the challenges that you have and see how I can help you. But I'm just really, really excited. I'm excited to continue doing strategic planning with my clients. I just love it. I love to see the transformation and to see people actually building a business that lights them up and aligns with the life that they want to build.
You guys can't see her smile, but she's definitely lit up and you just have so much joy. I love spending time with you, and I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed. And I would love to have you come back and kind of go another layer of this planning and strategy, because I know my listeners love this as much as I do. So let's talk about that.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody,
Yes.
for being here. And just thank you for your time today. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Carla. I've really enjoyed this. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for making it all the way to the end. And thank you for listening to Differently. If you enjoyed this episode, will you please go leave a 5-star review and share it with someone you love? Goodbye for now. I'll see you next week.